nerds, welcome back to another video. So in the past few weeks, or basically since I started this channel and my Instagram, I've gotten a lot of questions about how much I read, how I read so much, what are my tips and tricks regarding that. So I wanted to make a whole video answering all your questions. But first, before we get into it, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and click that little bell icon so you can be notified of every new video that I post. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is how many books I've read so far. So now we're almost at the end of March 2021, and I've read so far 17 books. I have to say my actual goal at the beginning that I set myself in January was 12. Because although I would consider myself quite an avid reader compared to the average person, last year was, well, we all know 2020 been rough, but I didn't read that much. In the past few years either, I used to read a lot more when I was a child and a teenager, and then I kind of went off the wagon when it came to reading actual books. One thing that I did continue to read, though, all throughout my teenagehood and my young adulthood, well, I'm still a young adult, but you know what I mean, has been fan fiction. So although I haven't read that many books, and you could say that in 2020 I read 0 books, I still read fan fiction. So my brain has still been active reading, but nothing major, nothing I can add to my Goodreads or anything like that. So obviously we're in March now. I surpassed my goal of 12 books. So I've now set my goal to 40 books to make it more realistic to how I feel I'm reading now. For sure, immersing myself in the world of books through BookTube, Bookstagram, and Book Talk has made me a lot more aware of books and has made me want to read a lot more. I've really come out with that love again. 12-year-old Gabby is back, y'all. But I have to say, after reading 17 books, getting questions like, how do you read so much, has been kind of weird for me, considering I'm so used to watching booktubers be like, oh, my goal for the year is going to be an easy 100. Oh, I surpassed last year's goal of 200 books. And I'm like, how? Literally, how? And they're like, oh, I have a full-time job, 15 kids, and 3 husbands. But yeah, I read 500 books last year. And it's like, okay, I'm leaving the chat. Thanks, bye. But in all honesty, I have to say, like, when I look at it, yes, 17 books is a lot. So I'm going to talk a bit more about what kind of books I read, how I read, my tips on focusing, and all that. So the first tip I have to give you, and it might seem obvious to some of you, but it's reading what you want. And I don't mean reading the book that's been on your TBR for 15 years, that you're like, I have to read this. That's not what you actually want to read, because if you actually wanted to read, you would have read it 15 years ago. Find you something that really excites you, something you can't help but buy right now and that you really need to read. Read something compelling. Read the genre you like. You feel embarrassed because all you read is cheesy romances? Girl, same boat. Cheesy romance is great, okay? You like the little Harlequin romance that you can find at the drugstore nearby? Buy that book and read it. Read your heart out, girl. Because honestly, if anybody's judging you for your reading, they're not readers, because everybody has their genre that they like and the books they like. And if you're being judged for that, canceled. Leave them behind, okay? Because reading is a game for all, and you can be reading middle grade, you can be reading young adult, new adult, you can be reading old grandma, you can be reading Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul. I don't care. But just read what you want to read. Another tip that might seem super, like, obvious, is setting yourself a realistic goal, which is what I did in January, was setting myself 12 books. Because since I knew how much fan fiction I read, I knew 12 books was possible for me, knowing that I'd done much more in the past. I was like, you know what? We're going to do 12 books. I'm in school as well, full time. So I was like, let's do something realistic. 1 book a month, totally doable. And obviously I surpassed that because it renewed my sense of reading, because now I was more excited because I kept getting closer and closer to my goal, and I kept being closer to, and then I surpassed my goal, and it was so exciting. So that's why setting a realistic goal is important. Now, I'm not telling you to do some sort of algorithm saying, hey, I can read this many pages in this much time and blah, blah, blah. No, maybe make a list of books that really interest you. And if there's only 5, read 5. If there's only 1, read 1. Reading 1 book is still better than reading none. And I don't want you to feel ashamed of having a short TBR or having a short goal, because reading at all, even if it's 1 page, 1 book, or 1 freaking Sarah J. Maas book series, okay, that is like 15,000 books long, To me, it's all the same. You're a reader and you're reading, and I'm proud of you, girl. Proud of you. So now we're going to the focusing aspect of this video. When I used to focus, some people like silence, some people don't like silence, some people like music. You know, there'll be people who are listening to heavy metal while reading Proust. Okay, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how your brain works, but I support you. I respect that. I'm not very much the music listening person because if I'm too much into the music, my brain is like, let's party. Even if it's a sad Taylor Swift song, who the hell cares? I'll start like freaking grinding on this bitch, okay? So music I knew was a no for me. It has to be instrumental music only, like no lyrics, if ever. Sometimes I will use some scores of movies and TV shows. However, again, if that bitch slaps too hard, like if it reverberates in my heart, you know what I mean? Like, I can't put the Inception freaking playlist on there. You crazy? I'm gonna be lost and I'm gonna be thinking about Joseph Gordon-Levitt, okay? Not gonna work. But it's fine. You have to find what works for you. Does music work for you? Does it not? Don't feel pressured by listening to what other people like to do while they're reading, even though I'm gonna give you my tips on what I do when I'm reading. But don't feel pressured to follow any person's tips or anything like that. You have to, it's trial and error. You have to find what works best for you. So if you don't know what an ASMR room, or if you're me from like a month ago not knowing what an ASMR room is, it's basically, I don't know how to explain it. It's a YouTube video that has usually an image that moves just a little bit, barely a video. It could be considered almost a GIF sometimes just with the tiny movement. And they describe a different mood or a different vibe. And basically you have the sounds that you would have in that room. Girl, the amount of Harry Potter themed ASMR rooms on the internet is incredible. Okay, like I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Harry Potter shrine right there. There's a golden egg right there. I'm a Gryffindor. I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. Not J.K. Rowling. Okay. But having an ASMR room of Harry Potter is one of my favorite ways to feel in the zone. So usually it'll be a room, like there's the Gryffindor common room, and there's even videos for each common room. So Ravenclaw, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, Gryffindor. And then there'll be images of what the common room would look like. There'll be like flipping of pages. There'll be rain in the background through the window. There'll be people like doing there'll be like swishing of wands and magic. And it's like you're submerged in that world and you're not distracted. It's just like as if you were in a public library. Who has been to a public library and sat down and read recently? Not me, because they've been closed for a year. Or if they're not closed, it's just for borrowing books. So you get back into that atmosphere. And they have these ASMR rooms for really every vibe and every liking and everything. I have saved a few ASMR rooms for different vibes for books. I was reading a book about witches the other day, so I went and looked witchy ASMR rooms. Guess what? Millions! And then I found one that has little potions bubbling in the background, and there's like crystals clinking, and there's like little candles, and you feel like you're a little witch reading your little witch book. It's perfect. You can go into a gnome market. You can go on a trail with the hobbits, going through grass with Gandalf. You can do literally anything. I was reading a spacey book the other day. So, International Space Station ASMR room? You betcha. And sometimes just every 30 minutes in these rooms, because sometimes these rooms can be like 10 hours long, there'll be just a little voice like, oh, careful, bay door closing, bay door 7 closing, and you feel like you're a freaking astronaut. It's incredible, and it has become my favorite way of concentrating to do literally anything. Whether it's drawing, painting, reading, writing, anything, it's simply the best. My other tip to help you focus is because in this 21st century, a lot of us are addicted to our phones. So one of my favorite apps is actually called the Forest app. This is not sponsored, by the way. If Forest app wants to sponsor me though, you know where to find me. But it is an app where basically you go grow a tree every time you spend a period of time not on your phone. You set yourself a timer, or there's a spot watch setting to see how long you can go, and then you build yourself a little forest over days and weeks, months and years, and you have a beautiful forest of trees. And it kind of guilt trips you, because if you look at your phone before the time is over, your tree dies. You're now officially a tree killer. Bravo. You see? Look what you've done. You should have stayed off your phone. That's all I'm going to say. So another tip I have for focusing is knowing your environment. So often on the weekend, I'll just be lounging on the couch while my boyfriend is playing a video game. That's not the best time for me to read very extensive, very deep novel. I'm not gonna start reading freaking Charles Dickens while this is happening, right? Because I'm hearing him murder people on Assassin's Creed in the background, and there's like little voices and stuff, and it's too distracting. That is the perfect time to read something that you need only little bursts of energy and little bursts of attention to read. So this is a perfect time to read a poetry book. This is the perfect time to read a graphic novel. Most of the graphic novels I've read, if not all of them, have been sitting on the couch next to my boyfriend while he's murdering people on whatever video game, or while he's losing to like any freaking game ever. Okay? And I can hear him screaming and be like, "Ah, damn, I lost." And I'm fine because I'm just reading my little graphic novel. I'm just reading through my little rupee core, just chilling, and it's great. You have to know your environment. If you know that you're going to be undisturbed for a certain period of time, that's the perfect time to read something more demanding. But for sure, if you're trying to read freaking Jane Austen, or you're trying to go through the entire trilogy of Lord of the Rings, yeah, going into a noisy room in your house where your entire family is literally the worst option possible, and that's why you get discouraged and you end up not reading. Now, a lot of you might be saying, "But Gabby, I just don't have time to read. My busy schedule is crazy." Well, sometimes you have time to read, you just don't realize. One period of time that I realized I had time to read was when I used to commute to work or to school. I used to take the public transit pre-COVID, and it would take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to go, and an hour and a half and 2 hours to come back home. So what do you do during that time? You read. That was a perfect time. The amount of school essays I wrote on that bus, girl. But that is a perfect time to read. But Gabriella, I don't have a strong stomach like you. I get nauseous on the bus. Girl, I feel you. Bus is disgusting. And yeah, my stomach doesn't handle it that well when I read either. So that is a perfect time for audiobooks. So you can listen to the author or anybody else reading this beautiful story. And a lot of booktubers, what they do is that they do a tandem read between an audiobook and their book. So like that, where when they're in commute, whether it's driving themselves or on a bus, on a boat, on a plane, they can listen to the audiobook, and then when they get back home, they just read. Now I personally don't need to do that because I commute from my bedroom to the bathroom to the kitchen back to my bedroom. So it's not really a problem, but I still listen to audiobooks when I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning. It's perfect. I just put on my little headphones. I'm not distracted by the rest of the world because they're noise canceling. And then I get the beautiful voice of, let's say, Michelle Obama in my ears, telling me about her beautiful life, telling me about her husband, Barack Obama. You know, I didn't need the physical book because I read over little spurts over time. And yeah, reading Becoming by Michelle Obama just by when I was cleaning and when I was cooking took me a long time. It took me like maybe a month because I would go periods of time where I wasn't doing necessarily either. And I don't really like just sitting there listening to my audiobook and just twirling my fingers. I would sometimes paint or draw while I listened to her as well. That was fun. Or play some like Mario Kart or some Animal Crossing on my Switch. But most of the time I would save it for those times where I'd be busy doing something more physical. My yoga, for example, nothing more relaxing than Michelle Obama's voice telling you about the problems in the United States Constitution while you're doing a little pigeon pose. But anyways, I think you have to find the time. You always have time. You just have to find how you can integrate the books into that block of time. So that hour commute can easily become into an hour of reading a day. So I hope you guys loved all my tips and tricks today and my reading goals and my reading habits. So if you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and smash the little bell icon to be notified of every new video. If you want to support this channel, my book outlet link, referral code is down below, so you get $10 off and I get $10 off our next purchase. As well as my Amazon wish list is also down below if you want to send me any nice books for me to read and to recommend to you guys and talk about. There will also be the links to all my social media, my Instagram, my TikTok will be linked down below. So hope you guys liked it. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.